Hello, welcome to Chewed Gum. Today is March 18th, and so happy to be here. Always so happy to be here. And I'm Alyssa. I'm a sex and relationship coach, for anybody who does not know. And we are joined by the gorgeous, the unstoppable, the promise / Eve, if you don't already know.
Wow.
Also,
wow, what an intro.
There was a show. I don't remember if it was the show you did yesterday or the show you did, what's today, Tuesday? No, the show you did on Sunday night. I got the notification for it, and you were wearing this top that was like a high neck, and it was like floral.
Oh,
whatever
yes.
that was.
Thank you. My brother got that for me for Christmas a couple years ago. I have my sneaking suspicions that his wife helped him pick it out, but he does have really good taste in just like style in general, so you know, thank you.
I loved it.
Thanks so much.
I was doing the podcast with Jimmy, and I was like,
oh, yes. Oh, that's so sweet. Meanwhile, the callers are like being insane.
Crazy.
It was a wild time. It was a truly wild time. You've been experiencing also crazy times. Please tell us what you've been up to. I'm so sorry. I giggled at your story this morning because you were last week when we talked on Thursday. You were like so excited. You're like, guys, I'm actually excited about jury duty.
Okay, so I loved the idea of jury duty. I was like, this is going to be so great. I'm going to be a great juror because I will want to be the most fair and the most just, and I will like do everything I can to I so badly want the American system to work that I'm like, I was thrilled about jury duty. And I feel like, and someone responded to my story when I like audibly was disenchanted with jury duty. And they were like, did you think that just all Americans were lying about how annoying it is? And I was like, no, I just thought like, I don't know. It was just so much waiting every day. And I was like, this is just every day. They emphasize how you need to be there on time. And then every day the court is like 3 hours late. I've
never had jury duty, which is, I don't know, wild that it's been this long. However, the month that I moved states, I got summoned for jury duty, but I had already moved. And so I just sent in my like change of address and they were like, okay, sorry, don't worry about it.
So that's so lucky.
I missed it. I mean, who knows? I could like next week hear from something here, but I'm always nervous that I'm going to get called for jury duty while I'm, in Finland for a few months or something, and then I'll have to like come back for it, which I can't think of.
I don't think you would have to, if I'm being honest. I think if you told them I'm literally not in the country and I don't have a flight booked until
maybe
whatever.
I think I would just feel like my civic duty, like you. I would feel like, okay, I've been called upon. It's time to show up. But it still sounds.
But also, you could also, they'll just postpone it a year. Like if you call them and you tell them, they'll just postpone it a year. You're not off the hook by any means. Don't worry. But then one of my favorite parts of the whole experience, though, was when the judge was like, if you have anything that you think might exclude you from being able to be a part of the jury, like raise your hand, and then each one of you individually will come up to me and whatever. And I, at this point, it was like 2 days into this whole process, and like for the people who raised their hands, I was like, you just don't want to be here like no one else wants to be here. Why do you think that you're so special that you don't get to be here? And literally every single one of them had to stay. And I was like, right. And like, I was like, again, not trying to be self-righteous in this moment, but like very much was, because I was like, if I have to be here, so do you. The heck? Sit down.
Yep. It's part of life here.
Yeah, it is.
I'm so happy that the sun is out. So we've been spending a lot of time outside. My husband built a patio cover thing that's really nice, and so we're just like hanging out there and trying to think. You know, it's like time doesn't exist between Tuesday nights to Tuesday nights. Although last Tuesday, I think we were both. No, what am I thinking? I was there without you. It's like I don't even remember. If you're not there, I don't remember. Roxanne,
that was the day that I was just
she was amazing. You were
yeah.
Alyssa forgot that she took the day off and then didn't take the day off still. I love that about you. And yeah, so you saw how that went. I want an episode with you and Roxanne really badly too, where you guys like maybe even say we're not talking to, like, we're not debating God, only talk to people that want to debate you guys specifically on your expertise, because I just love when she, you know, was talking about abortion or talking about anything. And then when you also talk about this, I just think it would be a lovely combo.
It would be great. It would be great. I would love for like all of the people. It's always like, get out of my Instagram comments and call us on Tuesday night, please. Please. And those are never the people who do. But I don't know. We actually, we have like almost full calls. Like our lines are almost full right now, I think. So we should
only two are screened.
Okay. Great. Okay, well, the phone number for anyone who would like to call in is 720-619-2288. And you can call and talk to us about all kinds of things. What's our I can't remember what our question is today on the title.
Is purity, it says purity is pure BS. Disagree? Call us. So if somebody wants to call and tell us why we should be following purity culture, I'd really like to hear you talk to Alyssa about that. That's really what I want to hear, is that conversation.
I stumbled upon like a whole bunch of clips of Andrew Tate on a podcast that he recently did.
Good God.
So
who's giving him a microphone? Why?
I don't know. And from that like viewing experience alone, and I only watched like 2 or 3 clips, I am like and ready. So please call me and tell me why purity culture is valuable to you. And I would love to have that conversation today, actually. Oh my God.
I would. Oh,
did you hear that sound?
So would the doggies. Yes, they're ready.
That was crazy. Anyway, okay. So
also reminder, super chats, $5 or more.
Yes.
We will read those at the end of the show. Also, I was watching Skeptalk for the first time ever live. I've watched it, but not live, last night. And of course, it was one where Forrest and Erica I think it was like 11 o'clock and they were still going. And they're like I sent a super chat to like be like, I was like, oh, I'll send them one because I bet they're about to get to super chats. I went to bed. I was like, never mind. They had like hundreds coming in. I was like, I guess Alyssa and I should someday maybe go past 8 o'clock, but It's just we get so sleepy. We're just girls.
Eepy. We get eepy very easily. Okay. Also, the way that the Discord is now organized, like I could probably change the notifications, but I get notifications for every single show every single day, which always in the beginning would give me like a little bit of a heart attack. So I was like, am I supposed to be on? But it's not.
That's what keeps happening to me. Yep.
So like I was watching Arden, who was producing the show that day, going back and forth with Forrest, being like, I'm really tired. So anytime you want to do super chats, I'm ready.
Poor Arden. Arden was fighting for her life last night.
Fighting for her life. Yeah, I think it was like 11:30 when they finished. It was really late. I think that was like between 4 and 6 hour show. I don't know. And I was impressed. But also Forrest and Erica, like I feel like that's anticipated from
correct.
From that. Oh my god, apparently they finished super chats at 1:30 a.m. Central Time.
Oh, poor Arden. Can you imagine?
7.5 hours.
That is.
It's not even the longest show.
I know.
That is really wild. I mean, I can't sit for that long. That's why Forrest was eating dinner. I remember seeing him at one point. I was like, oh, we're allowed to eat? No, you have to. If you want to do a 7-hour show, you have to stop and eat. That's wild.
That is so impressive. I don't know if I have the stamina to like have actual conversations in which my brain is being used for that long.
Yeah, my personality just shuts off after a certain amount of time. Right. That's like, even at a party, I'm like, oh, there I go. Goodbye. Time to go home and get in bed. I have nothing left to give any human.
No. Definitely not. I would be bad. Well, I mean, maybe one day we should try, but our show already starts kind of late. Like, I think that show started at like 2 p.m. or something. So I don't know. Maybe one day we could start earlier and try to do a longer show, but like, I don't know.
Maybe one day we'll go like 4 hours. I think that would be our record.
That would be our record. I think the longest show we've ever done is probably like 2.5 or something.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know.
Wild.
Well, yeah.
All that being said, we will be here to read you guys' super chats at the end.
Yeah, at a normal time. Especially for anyone who's recovering from that call and staying up as late as Forrest and Erica did. It's amazing. Apparently we've hit 3 hours before. I believe that. Okay, we have 2 calls that have been screened, and one of them is related to the affirmation exercise, and the other one is a theist call. So I'm happy to take either one. We usually prioritize, like polar opposites. We usually prioritize theists, so maybe we should take that one first.
Sure. Let's see how it goes. They have evidence that God is, I can't get to the last part. Oh, God is real. Finally.
God is real.
Can't wait. Okay, let's chat.
Finally. Okay. Let's pull in, I think it's Aloysius. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Aloysius, I think. Oh, okay.
That's correct. Okay, cool. Hi there. Please share with us your findings. I would love to know.
Well, it's pretty simple. The evidence is affirmations. How you been doing, Promise?
Oh my God!
No!
Shut up!
I've been found out. That was really smooth because I was like, why is this caller? This is going to be a good one. Maybe they're Catholic. They're calling him with the name of a saint. Okay, here's the thing about how my affirmations have been going. The thing is,
I feel like this is building up to a no.
Yeah, it's building up to a couple of times since we last spoke. It has happened. I have them here. I'm not going to show you them because they're so sweet and sad. But I have them. Like, I have my notes. It's just, here's my excuse. Obviously I have one, and it is that these sticky notes don't very well. And so when I put them on, like I put them everywhere, and then they just kind of keep falling, I think when the AC comes on, and then I forget to put them back, so then I forget they exist. So all in all, that is to say, how have your affirmations been going?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, it's the poor craftsman who blames her tools.
Ooh.
But
Wow.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Real quick, for anybody that doesn't know what's happening right now, I am being held accountable, and it's not going well for me. What name do you want us to use? Do you want us to use?
Sorry, say that last part again.
What name do you want us to use for you? I don't want to just like assume before I
Either one.
say what your
Will,
name.
Monkey.
Okay.
It's all.
Will,
it's
Monkey,
all
a typewriter in the.
Pretty much everyone knows.
In the chat. Yeah. So Will and I agreed to try out affirmations and then like hold each other accountable. And I did really great the first time Will asked me how I was doing with them, and I just got bamboozled, and I thought that we had a theist caller, and it's actually Will. So yes, now let's hear. Sorry. Let's hear how. That was really good.
Thanks. Yeah, I had to even call from my work cell phone just to like make it all anonymized. But yeah, so actually, I've had a lot of success on this one.
Yes, I love to hear this. Your sticky notes are sticking.
And well, you know what I did is I put mine on my front door. So before I leave, I have to look straight at it.
Smart.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Like I literally can't leave the house without like looking it in the eye.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I really love that. What have you noticed?
I was like, basically trying to.
No, you're good.
Sorry,
also,
go
I'll just, for everyone, so everyone knows, we're actually having a larger lag time than usual. We're working on fixing that. Couldn't even begin to describe how they're working on fixing that. Something about servers or something. I don't know, but we're working on it. So anyways, bear with all of us on all these calls today. Sorry, Will, you go ahead.
Yeah. So, I like, first of all, so like, yeah, I put mine on my door. The other thing is mine are all like 2-word phrases. Like I've got like just 4 2-word phrases. I feel like the brevity of it kind of makes it a little easier. You know?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I think so too.
But yeah, and like partially because like I can kind of make it like a little mantra and like go through it a couple of times, like before I walk out the door. And that's like the really cool thing is like I'm doing it right before I enter the world, you know? And like I feel like it's sort of like it's like my suit up moment, you know, my like zip put on the belt,
I love that.
Action hero, ready to go kind of thing. And you know what's really cool is, Promise, you were mentioning I'm sorry, that woman who was doing the TED talk about like body affirmations, like taking up like poses and stuff.
Amy Cuddy or something like that. Presence is her book that she has.
Something like that. Yeah, and I'd seen that TED talk before you brought her up. But it sparked it back in my head. So I'm like, I can do that while I'm doing the thing, and it's like a whole like kind of like full practice,
I love it. And so if anyone doesn't know what Will is talking about, there's a whole thing about like the Superwoman pose or Superman pose, like hands kind of at your waist and like this sort of thing that is supposed to help your self-confidence, like boost your self-confidence. And and so pairing that with affirmations is like amazing. So yeah, what have you noticed? What's been changing for you?
Well, so the one thing, I don't use the Superman pose because like the what she was saying is kind of anything that makes you just like feel big, right? So I go with the Bruce Lee. But
Bruce
Love
Lee.
But I've noticed that like when I go out, I do feel like kind of there's a little bit more of like an intentionality, just walking out the door. Like I'm not like I mean, I'm still me, but like I'm less dragging my feet, kind of like half asleep, like getting into my work truck in the morning, and I'm like, I have this moment where I'm like, let's get it done, and I feel like the kind of mental clarity kind of lasts pretty good like through a good portion of the day, and like having that momentum tends to make my days generally just go better,
That's amazing.
I mean, it's like really small
you've
stuff.
Officially
it's really
you've
small
developed
stuff, like
healthy habits.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say all of them, but I've started a couple.
No, but I mean, you've added some to your, arsenal. I'm feeling the competitive part of me feel motivated to suddenly also get better at this.
That's so funny.
And,
if that and this is like a
other
great testimony of how helpful it can actually be.
Yeah. And like I think I kind of stumbled on like sort of like the combining different methods all together and sort of just really boosting it, as like just signal boosting it as much as I can, like through my whole sort of nervous system and peripheral nervous system. It's like a whole body thing, like, brain to my toes, I'm ready to go.
That is so great. I am so happy.
Obviously, I'm still me, and I'm having like my other difficulties and whatnot, but it's just a little better, and like
that's great.
It could just be like luck, but like some, nice like kind of social interactions have been happening, more, and it's just like, I don't know. I just feel myself being like more open.
I'm supposed to ask you, Jamnik in the chat said to ask you about dancing.
Swing dancing.
Is this a thing that we're supposed to know about? What are we missing out on?
I feel like I vaguely remember this.
I signed up for a swing dance class. I think I messaged it to you like before a show one time, Alyssa. Just like, hey, guess what? I'm doing a swing dance class because you told me to.
That is amazing.
And it was really good. The first class was really good, and then the second class was like, so it's a Thursday night thing, and it was just a really long day, and I basically came home and like fell asleep, and then woke up like a half hour into it, and it's like a 20-minute, so I basically slept through it.
But that's fun.
But you did something new. You did something new, and that's so exciting. You should feel so great about that. And I also think you were talking about how your social interactions feel differently to you, and like it could absolutely be luck, but I do think that the way that you show up in the world when you have just like a little bit of extra confidence and who you're being makes such a big difference to the kinds of conversations that you have. So I think it's all connected. Like it's all like you are having better social interactions and you're feeling more motivated through your day. You did a swing dancing class. Like, who is this Will? Like, I remember when you called us for the first time sometime last year, and we were having totally different conversations. And so, whether it's like partially related to doing affirmations or whatever other work you're doing outside of what conversations you have here, whatever you're doing is working, and you should be so psyched. I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Now if you could just be my dad.
I feel you.
Wow, that lag is real. That's like a 3-second.
It's really bad. It's so bad. It was really painful on Sunday night. It creates so many fun, awkward silences that only visiting Finland has prepared me for. So
Oh no, that's really funny. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of been the experience so far. Like, it's, I mean, like, I don't want to like overhype it, right? Oh, what?
Sorry, you were cutting out, but go ahead and start from.
Am I okay now?
The beginning. Yes, now you're.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Yeah. Cool. Like what I was gonna say is I don't want to like overhype it. Like I don't want to pretend that like my world is radically changed and you can do it too. Because like it's not a miracle, but it's like it's like that little. It's just like that little bit of reduced drag on my life. That little bit of like just I'm a little bit more aerodynamic, and that kind of makes a lot of difference, like in the long, run.
Yeah, I think like it. I don't think it could always be attributed to anyone. Like feeling like your life is kind of taking like an upswing. I don't think it can be attributed to any one thing, but it's a bunch of little things. So I'm sure that there's whether it's sort of like a domino effect where you're doing one thing and it's creating better habits everywhere else, or you're doing a bunch of little things all around that are contributing to you having a happier, healthier, more, fulfilling life. That's so great. And I'm happy that doing something as small as like little affirmations on your door before you leave contributed to that in any way. Of course, it's not going to be like a magic trick and solve everything, but if it contributed, then I'm happy.
I will say the one other thing was that you said that thing about like, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And God damn you, woman. I can't get it out of my freaking head.
That wrecked me too, Will. So if it had to ruin me, it had to ruin you too.
Like, I did not sign up for this.
I'm so sorry. That's how I felt when someone said it to me too. I was like, shit.
But like it does pop up in my head from time to time. Like it's so weird. Like I have this little like my little like angel and devil situation. Before it was like devil and where's the other guy at? And now it's you just being like, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
I'm the angel on your shoulder. That's so great. I'm so happy to hear it. That is so funny.
You're my Jiminy Cricket right now.
Well, thanks so much for calling. And now I need to speak with the devil on my own shoulder so that next time you do this, I have a better response for you. But honestly, well done. That was really smooth. So
that was great.
Thank you.
That was so
Thank
great.
You. I appreciate
love you,
it.
Will.
You guys have a great one. It's always such a pleasure.
Thanks, Will. You too.
Likewise. We'll talk to you in the chat.
Yeah.
And I'll try, even though I suck at keeping up with the chat, but I do my best.
That was so great. What a good little switcheroo.
Should I share announcements real quick?
Yes, you should.
All right. So we have tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty and Eric SS. TACIS on Thursday with Arden and Josie. It says there's a Cus I Wanna on Friday night. It does not say anything else. So I don't know, maybe a surprise Cus I Wanna. Then that brings us to the 23rd, the Sunday show. Those hosts are TBD for the afternoon one. And then for After Dark, it's going to be Forrest and Durante. That's going to be great. Skeptalk, TBD. But then that brings us back to Tuesday, which will be Alyssa and me. So that concludes that. And just a reminder, Super Chats, $5 or more, we will read at the end of the show.
Woohoo! Love it. We do have a theist caller.
Oh, this is who I think we spoke with last week. Who I said to call back when you were on. Yeah, it's Robert.
Yeah. Okay, let's pull Robert in. And
you're also needed in the in our Discord. Morgan and I are figuring out something. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Robert. You are live with Promise and Alyssa. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Good evening. How are you both
This
doing?
is the same Robert from last week, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Awesome.
correct.
Thanks for calling back. And I will tell you, like I said, I don't know if you heard me earlier, our lag is so bad right now. So we're all going to do our best to not talk over each other. It's going to happen, but hopefully we can sort it out. Just know that the lag is happening and we're all going to have to work with it.
Thank you. So I have an argument for why the bodily autonomy argument for permitting abortion is invalid. I'd like to present this argument to you. It's 4 premises and a conclusion, and I can give you justifications for the premises if you disagree with them. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okie dokie. So 1, bodily autonomy is the right to make decisions about your body. 2, the right to bodily autonomy is a qualified right, not an absolute right. 3, the right to bodily autonomy does not permit you to kill other innocent human beings, and so is trumped by the prohibition on killing innocent human beings. 4, when you have an abortion, you are killing an innocent human being. Conclusion, therefore, abortion should be prohibited.
So I think my biggest point here is that, and this is a conversation I think that you had a little bit last week as well, is when at the time where people are typically having an abortion, the fetus is not able to survive on its own outside of the mother and is essentially kind of in a parasitic relationship. And so when you're saying things like the bodily autonomy has, wait, sorry, can you repeat your 4 points again? I want to write them down. I should have written them down when you said them, but I want to focus on listening, but I actually want to write them down to make sure that I don't forget. Sorry, Robert.
Yes, sure. I said them pretty quickly. Sorry. So number 1 is bodily autonomy is the right to make decisions about your body. 2, the right to bodily autonomy is a qualified right, not an absolute right. 3, the right to
say
bodily
that one.
autonomy.
Sorry, say the second one more time.
Yeah. The right to bodily autonomy is a qualified right, not an absolute right. 3, the right to bodily autonomy does not permit you to kill other innocent human beings, and so is trumped by the prohibition on killing innocent human beings. 4, when you have an abortion, you are killing an innocent human being, and conclusion, therefore, abortion should be prohibited.
But what you're failing throughout all of this is to tell us how this is killing a full human being. And how it's okay. So here's the thing. Because we're going to go back to the last thing I told you over and over and over again, which is that being legally forced to give your bodily autonomy over to any other life, dead, alive, grown-ass adult, newborn, fetus, anything, should not be a legal requirement.
Okay. So I heard you say earlier that where was it? You said earlier that the fetus kind of relies on the body to survive and wouldn't survive outside the body, and so it's not
Correct.
So it's not killing because the fetus isn't viable outside the body and can't survive outside the body.
I don't even. Right. You can call it killing. I don't care what word you want to use for it. It is. If you're removing it so that I am not giving up my body, that's the part that we're focusing on. But you want to keep using these words like killing and murder and stuff like that, when it is actually, if you describe the process, it is removing, as Alyssa pointed out, the parasite from the body. So you have to tell me why I should be forced to do that.
Okay, so, well, like I said, there's a general prohibition on killing innocent human beings, and I have an argument for why. I haven't presented it yet, but I have some arguments.
But how do you know that this is
an
innocent human being? It could end up being the next Hitler, as I pointed out. There is no way to know that it's an innocent human being. We don't know that it's not going to end up taking the life of the mother at some point. We don't know anything about it. So you can't make these claims about it when it is still just a fetus. That is the whole point. It can't survive on its own. It's not a viable life. And so this is not equivalent to killing an innocent life.
And if you were to have an abortion because of reasons that maybe your life as the mother is being put in danger and you have to have an abortion, do you still feel the same way, that you're killing an innocent life and that you shouldn't do that and the mother just gets to die?
Sorry, please, could you repeat the question?
So if we're very concerned about killing an innocent life, what happens in the circumstance that a mother her life is in danger, and the only thing that would prevent her from dying would be to remove the fetus and to have an abortion?
Yeah, in that case, the decision of what we should permit should be guided by which outcome would result in the lowest expected number of innocent human beings being killed. And so if it's an ectopic pregnancy, for example, where both the mother and child will die if you forbid abortion, then in that case, 2 innocent human beings would die. But if you allow abortion, only 1 innocent human being would be killed. And so we should choose whichever option results in
I don't agree with your premise that this is, quote, an innocent life. So I'm unable to follow this all the way through. I don't think that it is, quote, a life. And that's why to me, it's such a waste of time, you and I sitting here to try to discuss the morality behind whether this is a life or not. That's why, to me, this is about autonomy, because I don't want to be legally forced to give up my body to any other thing at all.
Okay, well, so even if it's so the thing is, like, I think the point of you using the bodily autonomy argument is, I've heard you before say that, even if it's Einstein, you still have the right via bodily autonomy to carry out an abortion, like even if it's totally conscious and everything like that. And so I think I'm, proceeding along those lines.
You wouldn't have an abortion, Robert. No one has abortions unless it is like an extreme exception. No one has abortions with a fetus that is conscious. That's not real. That doesn't happen.
Well, after about 24 weeks, kind of.
No one's having abortions at 24. No one's having abortions at 24 weeks.
That's not happening, and you're getting off topic over and over and over again, because this truly is about, it's not that I make it about bodily autonomy. It is about bodily autonomy. That is the argument. If you want to debate the morality behind it, go talk to somebody else. I think that's boring and I don't care. We're not going to agree because we don't have the same moral standards. What I will happily talk about is bodily autonomy, because that's the legal issue here. If you're wanting to say that you should be able to take away my legal rights, you need to give me a really good reason for that. And you need to know that we're never going to align on these moral beliefs, because you already made it really clear last week that we do not share those same standards. Because I actually care about the woman's life that is going to have her life completely altered based off of this choice that she should have.
Okay, so let's stick to bodily autonomy then. Like I said, so one of the premises of my argument was that the right to bodily autonomy does not permit you to kill other innocent human beings, and so is trumped by the prohibition on killing innocent human beings. So an example of this is that
but you can't assume that this is an innocent
I don't think it's killing. I don't think it's killing, Robert. That's the whole, like, you keep moving forward with this as though we've agreed to your premises, and we haven't.
Okay, so I can justify that premise then. So the justification that abortion isn't killing, when in fact it is, saying that abortion isn't killing, it's just ending a pregnancy, is like saying that opening the airlock in a room of a spaceship while someone is inside isn't killing, it's just pressing a button. In both cases, you're causing their death.
No, that's not.
Killing.
That's not. Here's a much better example. Let's say that. Well, back to this. I feel like I'm just repeating myself from last week, which is fine. Let's say that Alyssa is bleeding out and she needs my blood and she's attached to me. And I say, no, I don't want her taking my blood anymore. And I unhook myself from that. And Alyssa bleeds out and dies. Did I kill Alyssa?
Yes, you did. Well, I mean...
Okay, so you think that people should be legally forced to give blood then? Is that where we're going to go with this?
So it depends on the specifics. There's some very fine specifics here.
I just gave you the example.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like you gave sort of two different examples. So when you walk past someone who is bleeding badly and needs a blood transfusion and you decline, you're not murdering an innocent human being because, they're already bleeding out and, you're totally inactive and they die anyway.
If you really need me to make this super crystal clear for you to continue to just disagree with me and not give a good reason for it, I can do that. If I see Alyssa on the sidewalk bleeding out, somebody there says, hey, I can connect you to her and you can donate your blood to her right now and save her life. And I say, okay, I agree. I'll do it. You hook me up to Alyssa. I'm saving her life. Now she's on her way to living again because she has my blood. And then I think, you know what? I changed my mind. I actually don't want to give my blood anymore. And I get up and I unhook myself and Alyssa dies because she doesn't have blood anymore. Did I kill Alyssa?
In that case, no, because she's already kind of bleeding out and you didn't cause her to bleed out.
Because she's not a viable life at that point. Correct. That's the same thing with removing a pregnancy that isn't a viable life form. And that's why it's not killing, Robert. And I'm not going to agree with you on that, no matter how many times you present the same thing over and over again.
Well, the viable life form point is irrelevant. And here's why. So when you say that
Robert, stop being so dishonest. You just made that the point of why you disagreed with me in this example I gave you. And now you're special pleading for your own situation?
No, there's two different things going on here. So one, viability is simply, the ability of an organism to survive in a particular environment. And so human beings can't survive in the vacuum of space. But, that doesn't mean that if I sort of press the button on the airlock and let all the air out of the ship, of the spaceship, of the room that you're standing
Robert, that has nothing to do with Robert, stop using that example. It has nothing to do with bodily autonomy because that's not me protecting my bodily autonomy by pressing a button somewhere in space. That is a terrible example. Stop using it.
It's also if someone's an astronaut, they consented to putting their body in whatever that situation is, and that's it literally has so many other variables that have nothing to do with keeping a pregnancy or not keeping a pregnancy.
Yes, you've removed completely the fact that it impacts the other person's body.
Well, the distinction between a spaceship and a body isn't morally relevant, and here's why. The reason why you can do what you want with your body in normal circumstances is because your body is your possession, and in general, by default, you're allowed to do what you want with your possessions as long as you aren't harming or killing other people. And this is why you have the right to bodily autonomy, because you possess your body and you're allowed to do what you want with your body. That's the presumed right. But it is not an absolute right. It's a qualified right. It's qualified by you not being allowed to use your body to harm other people. For example, you're not normally you're allowed
this is why a fetus shouldn't be allowed to harm the body that it's in. Unfortunately, the fetus can't do shit, which is why we take it out when we don't want it, because it can't make that choice or decide that, I shouldn't harm others, because it's not a freaking person.
Well, I mean, it is a person because a person is a human being, and
then it's not a human being because it's harming other people when you're saying you shouldn't harm other people.
People shouldn't harm other people, but
tell that to the fetuses that are living and taking up space in a womb when the person doesn't want them there.
Yeah, but by kind of sending that fetus, by scrambling that fetus with a vacuum tube, or by eating a pill which causes your womb to sort of detach all its lining, you're either suffocating that fetus or you're dismembering that fetus with a vacuum tube, and that fetus is just a very young human being.
It's a medical procedure that we trust doctors to figure out.
Yes. Also, Miss Robert, listen to me. What you are picturing as being this process is not the process that's taking place. I feel like you're imagining a baby, a tiny baby with arms and legs, and I can tell that you don't understand what is actually being removed from a uterus based on how you referenced 24 weeks being a place in pregnancy where people would be getting abortions, which is not what happens. And so that tells me that not only do I think that you are trying to overstep on people's bodily autonomy, like we know that, but I also think that you actually don't understand how abortion works. And so you have this very strong opinion, and you actually don't understand what process is being placed. If this were a baby that had the ability to be sentient and understand the world around it, that we'd be having a very different conversation. That's not what we're talking about ever when we're talking about abortion.
But the only thing I will say here, I'll still go back, because to me this still comes back to bodily autonomy. If the only way for me to get a grown-ass man out of my womb so that I don't have to support its life is for me to go through a medical abortion, and he's not gonna survive it, sorry, you don't get the rights to my body. That's not my problem here. That's why I keep telling you, Robert, this is about bodily autonomy. It's not me making it the point. That is the argument at hand. That is what we're discussing, is if we care about bodily autonomy or not. And you just made a great case for it when you said we shouldn't harm others with our body. And Alyssa and I both pointed out that that's what this fetus is doing when it's there, when somebody doesn't want it there. And so we're simply removing the non-viable life form, which I have gone on the record to say, I don't care if it is a grown person. I'm not going to be legally forced to give my body over to anything else. And you have still, throughout this entire call, throughout last week, not given any reason why we should give up our bodily autonomy.
Okay, here's a reason why kind of your bodily autonomy doesn't give you the rights that you think it gives you. So, for example, you typically have the right to straighten your arm in front of you because your arm is part of your body, and so if you want to activate the muscles in that arm, you can. It's your body, your choice. But that right is not absolute, because you're not permitted to straighten your arm when someone is right in front of you, standing on the edge of a cliff, and straightening your arm.
Oh, kind of like how maybe a fetus doesn't have guaranteed rights to grow in a womb because it's going to impact somebody else around it, literally around it. I said kind of like how a fetus doesn't have the guaranteed right to grow and exist in a womb, where it would literally impact something all around it, another human's body. You're making my point for me over and over again.
No, but here's the thing. If you're agreeing with my reasoning that humans don't have that the right of bodily autonomy does not grant humans the right to kind of kill other people, then we have to acknowledge two things.
It's not killing, because
you're being so sneaky, and you're sneaking around the arguments that we've already talked over.
It's not killing. This is something that relies. No, it's not, because it literally relies on another body to be able to be viable. So it's not killing. It's literally just removing something that would not be viable outside of the host. It's a parasite more than it is a person.
Now, Robert, if we develop the technology to remove a pregnancy and have it, if we develop the technology to remove a pregnancy and sustain it otherwise and guarantee this life a decent life, we would be having a different conversation then, because then we decide, like, what's the ethical thing to do in this situation? We don't have that. We do not have the technology to do that. I wish I had had that. As we discussed my ectopic pregnancy, if I had been able to remove it and reimplant it in a way that it was a viable life, that would be great. If we have the technology someday for some of these pregnancies, that would be another conversation that we then have to get to. We don't have that. So the only way to continue to have bodily autonomy is to allow for abortion.
So viability kind of isn't part of the scientific definition of life, because like parasites are still alive, even if they. Yes, it is. Listen, if you want to like look up, what makes something alive, it's whether it's respires, whether it has metabolism, whether it responds to stimuli, whether cellular division, all those sorts of things. And a zygote, a fetus, an embryo, they all do those things. So, and the fact is that it's a human organism. It's an organism belonging to the human species. And when I say it, like, I mean to say he or she. So, like, this pre-born human being,
intersex people exist.
Yes, it can't survive outside the womb, but it's
also interesting, Robert. It's interesting that you didn't want to give pronouns, but you just said,
but you will
he
give
or
them
she,
to
but you
fetuses.
gave pronouns to a fetus, but you won't give pronouns to yourself, Miss Robert. Come on, be so for real.
Let me explain that quick little point. What I mean to say, but there aren't enough characters to display it, are that I don't agree with claiming personal pronouns. I agree with that pronouns are part of
then
language.
Why did you just claim? Then why did you just
these
claim?
Are my personal pronouns.
But you just did that for fetuses. So you didn't even ask them what their pronouns are. So.
So when people are referring to you,
what I mean is
how do they do that? So when people refer to you, how do they do that?
When I use they say he, but that's because I believe that's all males.
So you could have just told us, Robert, this is a call-in show. We have callers all the time where if I have to guess based off of your voice, I don't know what pronoun I should assume you have. I like being told. This is like a very normal, easy thing to do. But we can get back to the abortion topic. It's wild that you are wanting to give so much to these fetuses, and you still are ignoring the women that are carrying them, and you have zero care whatsoever for the other life that is a part of this conversation, that is a much bigger part of this conversation. You aren't defending her right to exist without being harmed by other life at all.
Right.
That's disturbing.
Well, what I want to do is I want to weigh up the total number of innocent human beings being killed. So there were 39 deaths of mothers from...
Robert, I have no interest in doing that. I'm muting you for a hot second just because the delay is so bad. I have no interest in doing that. None. Literally zero, not at all. Because this is the thing that's so frustrating about having conversations like this. We have explained over and over again that when you are having an abortion, what you are doing is removing the potential of having a child months and months and months later down the road. You're not doing this at 24 weeks. I'm so fucking tired of hearing about that. Literally do a minor bit of research about what is actually happening when an abortion happens before you dare pick up your call and say again that you don't know what a goddamn pronoun is. That is infuriating to me, Robert. Are you fucking serious? Like, actually. Like, now I'm so angry. And then for you to continue to tell us that the woman's body doesn't matter at all. What her life has amounted to, and however many years that she has lived before this pregnancy happened, doesn't matter at all. But what matters to you is, I know that Promise doesn't love this, but is the clump of cells, because that's what it is. It's not a baby. It's not a baby. It's not even a fetus when they remove it most of the time. It's a zygote. It's the size of a goddamn blueberry. But you wouldn't know that because you didn't even do a simple Google to figure this out. You just sat there with your man fucking brain and decided that this was the argument you wanted to have. You called with the same bullshit last week as you did this week. You didn't even do a Google search about it, and you just want to be on your high horse. And I'm over it, and I'm literally dropping you because I actually don't care what you have to say. I literally don't. Like, that is so infuriating. And I like, it's just
so dishonest. I mean, when you keep going back to the same premises when we've already told you why. Also, for you to blatantly sit through me explaining, okay, if Alyssa and I are hooked up and is it killing? No, it's not killing. And then you want to go back to it's killing. So dishonest. It is like, you just really frustrating to watch men over and over again care about a fetus, which is the easiest thing in the world for a man to care about because it costs nothing of him. Zero. Nothing whatsoever. And meanwhile, basically just shit on every person that's ever had to carry a pregnancy. Really wild. I'd love a woman to call in sometime and debate abortion with us because I would like to hear how that goes.
Yeah, and it's that's the thing that's so insane to me is even when I talk about abortion on my social platforms, 9 times out of 10, it is men who want to call in and debate this with me. This barely fucking affects you. It does not affect you half as much as it does for the people who actually have to carry the pregnancy. And I know that's not your ass, Miss Robert.
Well, and a lot of times a woman doesn't want to have children because she doesn't have a partner that's going to actually step up and co-parent properly or be a healthy father to her children and all this. So we have this issue already of men not showing up and not stepping up as fathers, but then they want to force women to be pregnant. It is I'm so done with it. Thanks for hanging up on it. We already gave him so much time last week. Also, when you just keep ignoring our points after agreeing with them, like, out of here.
Right. And it's also like, it was frustrating because a part of me is also hearing him do a combination of what felt like flipping through a script and also trying to, like, in some way, I want to be sort of like, I'm glad that he kept his composure and was trying to be like level in the call, but it doesn't make it less rude or less disrespectful when you're hearing the things that we're saying and then disregarding it and then also saying things that are blatantly wrong, like that someone's having an abortion at 24 weeks. Like, so you're actually still being disrespectful of our time because you actually don't know what you're talking about. You called in for the second week and then you tried to go toe-to-toe with me with it on this. And like, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen because everything you're saying, that was so infuriating. I feel like did you see that clip that went viral and it was a girl being like, she like freaks out for a second and she was like, I need to calm down. I'm an adult.
Yes, I love that one.
Oh yeah, my God.
It's frustrating. But yeah, maybe someday somebody will call in and debate with us and show up honestly in the conversation when points are made. I don't know. Yeah, it's feeling a lot like how the God talks go, though.
Oh my God. I was just saying recently, like it's so hard because I don't want to ever live in self-righteousness. However, the fact that the line has existed as long as it has, does as many shows as it does every single week, most days of the week, every single week for years, like between the shows we do now and whatever they've been in the past and all these other creators that exist on the internet who have these exact conversations over and over and over again. And there has not been a single person to like unequivocally prove the existence of God, prove that he's a good person, and then also prove that we shouldn't be able to prioritize bodily autonomy. It gets hard to believe that we are very wrong. And I want to always remain open to like whatever possibilities, but it just, when I think about the sheer amount of time that we spend having these conversations as a whole, like as a community, I just can't, it just seems impossible to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but on the other hand, I think these are the conversations that, and obviously the reason we do these shows and keep having the same arguments over and over and over again is because people need to hear how these conversations sound. I mean, 90% of the time, I'm not expecting the person on the other end to change their mind whatsoever in our conversation. It's not enough time. It's not, that's not how I would have a conversation with somebody that I'm trying to truly change the mind of. It's more like, we're debating it, So we're debating an issue. But for other people to get to hear that, that's what helped me start changing my mind about so many things is I would hear the arguments that I had in my head that I would never have with anybody else. I would hear like some of the dumb points that Robert made were some of my arguments against abortion. And then when you actually hear them and you hear somebody else push back, it's really powerful. What I find most powerful is when the person on the other line will engage honestly with us. Even if they say, you know what, look, I'm sorry, I still really disagree with you. You made some points here that I'll go think about, but I'm still unable to agree. We have to end it here. Okay, that's fine. Or even if you say, you know what, I don't know, I might be changing my mind on this. Thanks for the chat and move on. But the persistence when it comes to just doubling down and being dishonest is really frustrating.
It is. And then it also like, it's a waste of our time and a waste of our energy. We're just going to talk in circles for however long.
Yep. I see we've got plenty more callers. I think we have time to get through these last 3 before we're done. What do you think?
Yeah. You can choose our next one. I'm happy with any of them.
Are you sure you're good with any of them? Because maybe we'll just go down the line. Jay wants to talk to you specifically about your stance on sex between consenting adults. Hey, Jay, you are live with Promise and Alyssa.
Hello, Alyssa and Promise. Promise, I think this is the first time I get to talk with you as well. You're kind of how I found the line on Instagram,
cool.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, so, yeah, of course. Of course. So I've called a few times, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Ben. I just wanted to give a brief background before I ask my question so you can kind of get the context. I grew up extremely in a theistic home. And so that's sort of the appeal that I had in the reels that I saw from Promise. I was like, oh, she has these awesome points similar to the arguments I've had. And that's kind of what drew me. But of course, the line covers way more than just theistic arguments or atheistic. It's multi-topic platform. So what I specifically called about, I'm going to do my best to not make any moral claims, but rather just ask for information, just to understand your worldview better. Common rebuttals to questions that people have in debates. Like 2 weeks ago, you were speaking with Flamingo. I don't know if you remember the Flamingo call in regards to like, where's the line when it comes to sex? Like
myself or Alyssa? You're talking to Alyssa right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's correct.
Just making sure, because I was like, wait, I don't think I was here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you were, unfortunately. But yes, Alyssa was speaking with Flamingo. I think Flamingo was talking about where the line is when it comes to sex. And if I'm not accurate in describing or still manning your position, Alyssa, I think essentially you said if two consenting adults agree to, I'm being repetitious. If two consenting adults want to do something, then it's, acceptable. There's no objection there. Is that essentially your point of view?
Yeah, as long as it's safe and consensual and that consent is freely given, which means that it can also be removed at any time during whatever sexual experience you're having, then it is more than likely something that's okay to do.
Right. Okay. So this is a question that I've had, and I've seen debaters. I was watching modern day debates. I mean, I think some of you guys do that as well. I love it. I love just trying to figure out what I believe to be true. That's all I'm trying to do, and that's why I'm asking. So a common rebuttal of this is, so then would that entail that, like, two adult male twins having sex is acceptable in your worldview because it's consenting, it's, you know, they're adults, they're not children? How do you feel? Like, is that an accurate entailment or not necessarily?
So that's a tough one, because if they are, like, physically, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they're not in any higher risk of like it's not like they can impregnate one another, and so that takes away that risk. I would question what's going on psychologically, because there's supposed to be a psychological barrier with siblings that you like naturally create. So I would say it would be something to look at, but I guess not, like, I mean, what people do behind closed doors is really kind of like not anyone's business. And if it is safe and consensual, then yeah, like, I think it's kind of okay. It's not, I would question the mental, like, wellness of both people, because there is supposed to be like a barrier there, but you can't really tell them that they can't do that.
So when you say that there's supposed to be a barrier, the implication I get, and this is just my belief, I'm calling for yours just to compare and contrast. I think that's more cultural, and culture has been heavily, I think, and I don't mean to speak for you, I think we would agree, religion has played a huge role in cultural viewpoints. So my question, my follow-up would be, well, then wouldn't that barrier not be innate, but really culturally learned? That, you know, like the not to lay with your kin, right, for example. Or are you saying it's actually innate within us as humans?
All the time in religion. So I don't think that's from religion. In fact, you were oftentimes the Bible encouraged. Yeah, the Bible encouraged, you know, families, like all kinds of incest stuff was happening in the Bible, like so much. So I don't think we can credit religion for us. I was just talking about this on social media. We cannot credit the Bible for, or I can't think of any religion we can credit for what we now perceive as like societal norms when it comes to even, you know, the quote nuclear family. That is a modern thing. That is not something religion helped us overcome.
So would you say it's innate, though? Like, in the animal kingdom, it absolutely occurs in nature. It's a natural thing.
I don't know. I would have to hear from an actual scientist. I mean, maybe Alyssa knows this. I have a homeschool Christian education, so I can't speak on the actual. I'm sure someone like Forrest or Erica, maybe even Roxanne. I know she studied a lot of this, as far as where we get this from, if it is innate, if it's not, if something's, you know, abnormal in the brain, when you don't adhere to that, I don't know what that is. But if your question is, which Alyssa answered for herself, like, that is, if we're talking about morality, and based off of the standards that Alyssa and I share for morality, that doesn't, it's uncomfy. It's not a fun thing to think about, which is why I don't think it's my business when it is between consenting adults and it's not harming other people. So to me, at that point, it's like, why are we even imagining this situation, and why are we making that our business? It makes me uncomfy. I don't like it. Why are we thinking of these things? That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, no. So I think it's in this hypothetical scenario, it was to test the logic of a worldview, the consistency. If there's consistency and it holds up, then it, you know, it stands true. But if there's like what's that term that you use, special pleading, then I think it's not as consistent. But I mean, yeah, that's just one of the questions I had. I thought it
sounds like Alyssa's is pretty consistent.
She is. She's saying like, no, it's icky, of course, but like, it's not. And I don't know the phrasing. I can't rephrase it in the way that she did. But essentially, are you saying that it's icky? You fear maybe perhaps there's something psychologically wrong, but it's not objectionable. Is that a fair summarization, or is that not accurate?
No, I think that's right. Like, it's not morally wrong. I can't personally object to it because it's not my business and no one's safety is in danger. And there is a theory about how when you spend a significant amount of time with anyone, and like hypothetically with your family, with this hypothetical twin, you have a subconscious barrier with your sexuality. And so I would question what the dynamic is at home if that barrier didn't form, which is why I would have some questions like psychologically maybe. And like that would be the only way where I would say maybe there is like a question around safety. But if there's like, no real risk to someone's safety and they, this is what they want to do, there's nothing that anyone can really say.
Right. Yeah. And to answer the chats, like I think someone or a couple of people asked, why specifically twins? It's sort of like for the harm aspect. Some people's worldview are whatever, they consent, but it also can hurt people. So you could argue incest children are more susceptible to birth defects. So whereas if it's two males, it's 100% impossibility of them conceiving. So that just sort of took that out of the hypothetical scenario. That's why I did have a follow-up question. So I appreciate you answering, by the way. And it does sound consistent at least. It is icky. I agree. But I understand you're consistent. And I did, if we have time, I wanted to be brief because I also kind of wanted to ask Promise a question, or it's more of a critique of, I guess it's a question and a critique of an argument. I think with that caller before me, with Robert, but it was last week. Would I be allowed to ask?
Yeah, go for it.
Promise that? All right, cool. So last week, and if you would rather not talk about, I don't want, the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because you did bring it up in a few shows, Promise, your ectopic pregnancy. Now, just from my studying of ectopic pregnancies and the treatments, they're not abortions. And I think it's like, I forget the fallacy of basically mislabeling what something is. Like and if I'm not correct, by all means, like I'm open to being corrected. I don't claim to have everything right. An ectopic termination is more like, how do I explain it?
Here, instead of you explaining to me a very personal thing that happened to me, I will let you in on the process. So first of all, you're right. Some people don't call it an abortion, and that's fine. You can call it whatever you want. You can say it's a medical procedure to remove a pregnancy. But that is what it is. In fact, my doctor did refer to it as I think she called it a medically necessary abortion, because what we did first is we had to treat it with something called methotrexate. And I don't want to get into all the details because I don't really like having to share my medical history. But it was the exact same thing that several of my friends who have had abortions, that's the exact same treatment that they had for their abortion that they elected to have for an unwanted pregnancy, and which was cool because they were able to kind of talk me through that and how it was going to go. I think that's what it was called, something like that. It was not fun at all. Can confirm that's not a great experience. I was in pain for days and days, tons and tons of bleeding. Also, it was just like a gross experience, what's happening to your body. I won't share all the details, but it's not fun. It did not work. And then I had to go in and they had to surgically remove the pregnancy. So yes, you're right. They're removing it from a different place. They're again, I'm not going to share like every little detail of it, but it was a surgical procedure. It was a surgical removal, and it was emergency. So it wasn't your typical way of doing that, even for ectopic pregnancy, actually, because I was starting to bleed out. But yeah, so you can call, that's fine. We don't have to say that it's an abortion if you don't want to. But it was the same process in a different part of my body, with the initial treatment of it, that my friends who had elective abortions had. If it makes you feel more comfortable to just say it was a medical procedure, we can do that, because honestly, that is what abortion is. It would make me feel better about abortion if we stop calling it that and we just start calling it a medical procedure, because that is what it is.
Yeah, I got you. And so I was actually unaware. I appreciate you be forthcoming and open about this. Because, I didn't know that they used, I was familiar with methotrexate for ectopic pregnancies, but I didn't know that they used it for, like you mentioned, your friend's, is it elective abortion? I'm not sure the terminology. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings by saying the wrong thing. But elective abortion, I didn't know that they used that. I thought it was, I think it starts with an M, like mifepristone. I can't remember
that's
the
something
name of
they use. And I couldn't tell you exactly what the medication I was given, so I might even be saying it wrong. But I do know that when I was sitting there trying to research it, it was actually a moment for me of where I was like able to bond with some of my friends that had experienced abortion, because they were able to say like, oh yeah, it's the same thing. Because what I will tell you is we still didn't even know. We suspected that it was an ectopic pregnancy at that point. All we knew was that it was non-viable and that my body was wigging out. We didn't even know where the pregnancy was. There was a chance they thought maybe it was in my womb, but I kept bleeding and having all these problems. So they were like, we're going to induce the loss of this pregnancy. And then it still didn't work. And so then we go in and we do a medical procedure to remove the pregnancy that was still trying to hang on for dear life as long as it could. We had to remove it. So, if you want to get into the semantics of it, we can. But I think that's also a problem, was when people like they want to say, oh, that's that, and this is that. It's all medical procedures, and it's all to end a pregnancy. And if we got over this taboo of abortion and how scary that word is, and we were able to view it as it is, which is a medical procedure, that sometimes you get the choice to make and sometimes you don't. If it's a life-saving situation, it's all the same result, which is removing a non-viable pregnancy.
So the reason why I even brought this up, and this is just my own perception, feel free to, I'm sure some people are going to criticize it. I promise it's all in good faith. Why I bring it up is because when it comes to like my theistic family, I offer the same type of criticisms when I feel they use certain terminology to kind of like, and I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm not saying that this was your intention. I'm not asserting anything. But they'll use certain terminology to gain favor. I think Alyssa brought a good point. I don't know if it was last week. They'll call the fetus a baby so that they can actually visually see a baby. It's kind of effective. And so I think from the counter argument, if you use abortion to justify in reference to the treatment of an ectopic pregnancy, you're going to get people like theists to say, hey, that's a good point. Like, maybe abortion should be legal because it's ectopic pregnant. It's not viable. It grows, outside
but Jay,
the womb.
there are places where women are no longer to get there are places in the US where, because of the abortion laws, women are no longer able to access the treatment that they need for these ectopic pregnancies. I think it's silly calling it, quote, treatment for an ectopic pregnancy, because that implies that you're like healing something, but what you're doing is you're removing a pregnancy. And so if anything, I think it's being misleading to try to, like, I understand why they do it, because I do think a lot, like, ectopic pregnancies are extremely traumatizing. There are women that are anti-abortion that experience them, and obviously it's easier to treat these things when you handle it like we're treating the ectopic pregnancy, but you are removing the pregnancy. It is a medical procedure to make the choice to remove the pregnancy. So to me, it's more dishonest to not admit that and to not discuss the facts of the situation. I understand that it is not the same as an elective abortion where somebody is maybe has a healthy pregnancy and is going and choosing to have an abortion. But at the end of the day, it is still the medical removal of a pregnancy. And it's a very big reason to why this service is needed. It's why I am a huge advocate for these procedures to remain legal. There's a woman right now online. I think I wish I could remember if she's on TikTok or what, talking about how ectopic pregnancies should not be removed, that you're supposed to continue to carry it because it's an abortion to remove, because you're removing a pregnancy, and that you should let God basically decide.
Crazy.
And that's the problem. Yeah. And she's able to make that case when it comes to talking to her, anti-abortion friends, because it is removing a pregnancy. And I think we're all being dishonest if we don't admit that.
No, it absolutely is. The counter to that I'd offer, I think intentions is kind of what, like, I've often heard it's the same result, but I think intentions really, how do I put this? Intentions make the thing good or bad. Like, for example, if John kills Joe, well, it's not necessarily good or bad. We need more info, right? Like in scenario one, let's say there's two scenarios. Scenario one, or in both scenarios, John kills Joe. End result is the same in both, but in scenario one, self-defense, right? Like, that's sort of justifiable.
Yeah, you're taking us back to the argument that we had with Robert, basically, and where you're trying to say, like, an elective abortion is somehow less warranted than
I don't want to make any moral claim.
But you are when you do that. When you say that one is justified and one is not, then you are. What I'm advocating for, like I said to Robert, is bodily autonomy. If somebody doesn't want a pregnancy, whether it's because it's immediately going to kill them because they're bleeding out, or because they're worried about long-term health repercussions and dying in a few months from I think it's called preeclampsia, if it's because they're worried about it completely fucking their life because they had all these plans and they got raped, and now, like, their life is essentially over as far as their plans go if they don't have access to this abortion, whichever reason it is. The woman should be able to make that choice. I got to make that choice at that time, luckily, to remove the pregnancy. And I don't think it's my business what any other woman's reason for it, whether they feel that their life is being threatened, whether it is, detectable on, on the screen where you can see your heart rate dropping, whatever the reason is. I don't think that's my business. So to me, that's just not part of the argument.
It wasn't so much I'm making a moral claim. It was I'm showing that the intentions separate. Like, that's where the line of delineation is between both scenarios. And I get why you might be thinking I'm making a moral claim. I'm saying with an abortion, the intention is to end the life of the fetus inside the uterus, whereas with an ectopic pregnancy, they're not. I mean, it's to save the mother's life. That's what the intention is. And medically speaking, that's why they do it. That's why they say that they're separate procedures. It's not even a moral thing. It's just different indications for each.
The intention is not when you're having an abortion, an elected abortion, the intention is not to just remove the pregnancy for it's I don't know. I feel like the way that you're framing that doesn't I feel like
Can
I
I
lost
ask
it.
this? Yeah. Well, can I ask this, Jay? What if I found out I was pregnant and I didn't want to be, and I wanted an abortion, and I chose to go into the doctor to discuss my options about getting an abortion, and they do the ultrasound and they say, hey, actually, you have an ectopic pregnancy. And so, of course, I'm moving forward with the abortion now. Am I having an abortion or am I treating an ectopic pregnancy? Because my intent was just to go in and get an abortion. And that's what we're still doing.
Yeah,
we're still going to do essentially the same thing. So what is it now?
Yeah, so your intention, and if I sound like a moron, I apologize. It's a good question. Your intention was to have an abortion. However, the procedure would be different. There's a couple different.
Nope. Nope, because they can treat procedures they can treat they can be either the exact same or very, very, very similar. So I don't understand why that
it doesn't matter
is what you're hanging up. Yeah, well, no, it's a removal of a pregnancy. It feels like you just want to get in the business of the person who's having the pregnancy removed, and you want to feel like it's justified. And to you, you think it's justified if their life is currently at risk, but you don't trust their decision as far as how it impacts their life, unless you have a doctor there saying, well, they're going to die right now if they don't get it. It feels like you're wanting people to justify in order for them to be on the same level playing field.
It's a medical delineation. It's not a moral one that I'm making, because I can. Okay, so the funny thing is, I can actually make a Christian case for an abortion using Leviticus. That's not how my mind works. My mind works by investigating like what one worldview says, find out if it's consistent, if there's any cracks. I can do that. I could play devil's advocate. I'll be honest, I really don't know. Like, I don't know a lot. I don't know if morals are completely subjective or objective. Go ahead.
Is the removal of what is the intent behind treatment of an ectopic pregnancy?
To save the mother's life.
It's to remove. I'll tell you what it is, because this is what they tell me, because they can't even guarantee that they'll save your life. Their goal is to get out. They know that what they have to do is remove the pregnancy. That is my surgeon's goal. Yeah. My surgeon's goal was to keep me alive, which is also the goal of any doctor interacting with her patient, including if she's giving them an abortion. Her goal is to keep me alive, but the goal is to remove the pregnancy. I literally had to sit there, and as they said to me, because I guess this is part of the like making sure you're aware of what's happening. And they said, are you aware of what you're consenting to? The removal of it, like, well, you're going in today to do what? And I had to say, we're going in today for you to remove the pregnancy. That's what they're doing. So that's the intent. The intent is to remove the pregnancy. And then the outcome is the removal of a pregnancy on both of those. So I'm still really not understanding
why you don't like the main goal. And if I'm mistaken, correct me. It sounds like you sort of object to the saving the mother's life as the primary goal. So how do you do that? By removing...
I don't object to that. I don't object to that, but one could also say that you're doing that when you get an abortion. So that's to me why it's like, why even argue that point out? Because then we get into semantics like so quickly, because women are at risk of death during pregnancy more so than when they're not pregnant. So one could say that a woman is getting an abortion in order to save her life in that moment. That's when we're getting into semantics.
Yeah, sure.
A woman removing a pregnancy that she doesn't want also protects a part of her quality of life too. For some women, like that could be a part of that whole argument too, is like, if I decide that my quality of life would be greatly affected by having a child right now, then me removing a pregnancy protects my quality of life, which could also then ladder up into being life-saving. But also, like, really at the end of the day, the conversation kind of starts and ends with bodily autonomy. The reason, the intention actually doesn't matter beyond ending the pregnancy because I don't want it. And that should be enough, because it needs to rely on my body to survive. It's not viable outside of my body. So if I don't want this pregnancy using my body to survive, then I get to decide that I don't want it anymore, regardless of the intention. Like the reason is I don't want it.
Yeah. I really have no objections to a reason why somebody doesn't want it. I'm more so trying to focus on, and it's not just it's actually a medical delineation of abortion and an ectopic termination. I mean, and I'm really not trying to play semantics.
They're both terminations of a pregnancy. So I'm happy to specify, which is why I do. I don't walk around saying, I had an abortion. I say that I had an ectopic pregnancy and that I had the pregnancy removed, which
and I'm glad that
termination
you got it,
of a pregnancy.
I
had what? Excuse me?
Oh, I said I'm glad that you had access to that you had access to that care, because I think everyone deserves that care. I'm glad that you could get treated for that.
Yep, I think all women deserve access to terminate pregnancies.
Agreed.
If needed or if wanted. So to me, that's why I don't need to. I do not feel any need to sit there and say, but they're two completely different things. On the one hand, obviously, if anybody thinks that it's a different experience, as somebody who experienced an ectopic pregnancy and also has friends that have had elective abortions, there's different things happening there, and we each had our own traumas that are very different than each other. And of course, that's different. It's, everything about that is different because everything for each person going through that is different. Each person that has an abortion has their very own specific reason. Mine happened to be that I was going to die if I didn't. But that it is still the termination. The word you just used, that's perfect. It is the termination of a pregnancy. And you can't convince me that it's not, because that is exactly what it is. And I think it is a great example for it does help other people that are anti-abortion see, like, okay, well, you're okay with it, and you're okay with us terminating pregnancy in this situation. So now let's talk about these other situations.
Yeah. And that's sort of like the work that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to I'm trying to separate from the theistic worldview I had and figure out right and wrong independent of that. And that's sort of, as I mentioned earlier, what drew me to your reels and The Line, which I enjoy watching. I feel like there's still a lot that I need to learn before I can say I even have a stance. I actually do. I mean, I say that and I'm going to contradict it. I actually do believe, outside of ectopic terminations, I do think that abortion can and is life-saving in certain circumstances. That much I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm just trying to figure out other, like, mainstream scenario, or I don't know if there's a mainstream, but where the man isn't involved in the life, the woman feels like she doesn't have any options, like things like this. Like, I'm not trying to judge anyone or be harsh. I'm trying to figure out my worldview after being brainwashed, or maybe brainwash is harsh of a word, but after being indoctrinated, perhaps, my life. But, what were you saying?
And that's why I would encourage you to steer away from moralizing things. I know that's if you were raised anywhere like how I was raised to moralize anything and everything, especially things that weren't any of my business. It's so much easier now to live my life when I things like what Alyssa said. You know what? If it's between two consenting adults, it's not my fucking business. If a woman, like, either I believe that women should have access to abortion and, that's their decision to make, and I trust them and their doctors to make those decisions together, or I don't, because it's not my business what goes on. Like, to get to step back and actually take responsibility for other things that I totally didn't take responsibility for as somebody who believed in a God and believed in an afterlife and all of this. Now, the things that I was taking false responsibility for, like what other grown adults are doing with their lives that doesn't harm anybody else, that's just not my business. And I will fight for the right of people to do things that's not my business. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I think
no, it does.
where you're getting into the weeds here is when you're moralizing stuff that you don't have to. We don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to sit here and see if this person's behavior lines up with this book, which thank God most people's it doesn't. I would encourage you to look more into your own personal stance on not like, oh, what do I think about abortion? Look a little bit like zoom out, like things on consent, happiness, well-being. Look at those things, and then those can be your guides instead of having to go through, which is what we honestly had to do, at least for me as a Christian. I had to sit there and cherry pick each thing, because it's not like the Bible was telling me, well, that tank top is inappropriate and all this, so you can't wear that, and there's 2 fingers between your knees and your skirt, so you can't do that. We were having to sit there and cherry pick the morality of these, everything. Like, it was exhausting every day. You don't have to do that anymore. We pick our lanes that we decide, like, okay, what's a good path? Well, I think well-being, consent, things like that, those are great North Stars to aim for. And everything else kind of falls into line. It's when I sit there and I'm like, should this be okay? Is this scenario, can these twins have sex? Can this, like when you start going through all of that, it's just, we don't have to do that. It's so much easier when we don't make it our business what grown consenting adults do.
Right. Yeah, no, it's everything you're saying is correct. I think I have this hyper focus on that right, wrong, the morality aspect, but that's more of a symptom or baggage, if you will, from I'm not really trying to like crap on religion, but I mean, yeah, that's sort of the consequence of that. There's like sort of a vacuum that's created. I leave this, that, and just sort of, what do I feel that? Like, where's my compass at this point?
Yeah, it's a scary feeling. I also, just to tell you, I was diagnosed with something called I got lucky. I got all kinds of OCD, but moral OCD, I think it's also called something else relating to religion. Basically, moral OCD is very much a thing. Recovering from religion, I talk about them all the time, but recoveringfromreligion.org is an amazing resource for helping figure out stuff like that. And I'm not saying at all that you have OCD or moral OCD, but what they discover with people that have religious traumas, they often show similar symptoms to people with moral OCD. And there could just be some little things like that where your brain got wired to just hyperfixate on moralizing things. And there's amazing therapists and techniques and all of this where you can retrain your brain to not go down that path. Obviously I still suffer from OCD in different ways, but not that one anymore. Thank goodness. And it's from addressing and acknowledging, okay, this is an issue. I'm not saying that that's what you have at all. I'm not hearing anything like that. It's reminding me of when you get hyperfixated on morality, that can become like a big thing in life. And it's so much more freeing to not worry about stuff like that and not feel like you need an answer to every last little thing. Because one of the best parts about there not being an inherent meaning and purpose and all that to life is that we're able to kind of let go and stay in our lane and focus on reducing harm, focus on, I'm not saying that we shouldn't care about other people that are being harmed, but anything other than that is where we can finally like chill the fuck out and now focus on actually helping end stuff that is harmful.
Yep, I got you. Well, I do appreciate you answering both questions of mine. I think another issue is worrying about what people think that I have, and I think maybe I shouldn't care as much, but your chat is lighting me up. I hope you saw me as coming in good faith. I really wasn't trying to piss anyone off. Really just had some questions, and I sincerely appreciate y'all answering them and taking the time.
Yeah,
Jay,
no problem. I think people get gun shy when men start discussing like women's health stuff, as we were saying in the other call. It's just kind of like, where are you going with this? Sorry, Alyssa, you go ahead.
Yeah, and also coming from places of curiosity and not judgment will always lead you further in life. Like you will learn so much more in your life, and this goes for like the people in the chat too. Coming from a place of curiosity and not judgment. Like we can only trust your intentions of making any sort of call or any sort of judgment or whatever to the degree that we want to, and I think it is braver for you to want to put your curiosities out there and share them than you are giving yourself credit for. So if as you've said, you've come in good faith and you just are, and you're just exploring things and figuring it out, then, you know, you should continue doing that. And it's also, you know, you're always going to be in kind of like the public arena, but you threw yourself in the arena, like you threw yourself in. And you know, you're in a journey, you're figuring it out. And also sometimes what the chat says also gives you information too, like all of its feedback at the end of the day. And if the feedback is the line of questioning, like you knew to some degree that the questions that you were going to ask were going to be controversial. That's why they're debate topics. So like, you know, people are going to have big opinions about it. But also the chat is also giving you information about how people feel about those topics. Like they don't know you. They don't know your entire life. They're basing their opinion on you and your intentions based on however long this call has been. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt, and also it's information, and that's all that it is. But you're leading in curiosity, which is all you can really do.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't want to get complacent in thinking that I always have the right answer, and that's a big reason why I will listen to the line. Y'all have different points of view from what I'm accustomed to, and I like to be challenged to consider different points of view. I'm after truth. Maybe it might take me a little bit longer due to my background, but I'm going to be as good faith as possible and hopefully get there. In the same, you know, or similar spot as everyone else. Just might take me a bit longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that you called and had this conversation with us, and and continue with the curiosity. It'll lead you far in this whole journey.
Yep. Thank you so much, both of you. Nice speaking with you for the first time, promise.
Thanks, Jay. I just put in the chat a book recommendation I had for you, too.
Sam Harris. Okay. Yeah, I see that. By Sam Harris.
All right, Jay. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks for calling.
Likewise. You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Are we taking one more call?
If you're down, if it feels like it's going to turn into a longer conversation, we can ask them to part 2 it to next week, but
yeah, we could do that.
Or if you're sleepy,
I'm okay. I'm down to do one more. Make sure that you get your super chats in before the end of the show. $5 or more. We didn't give a super chat prompt.
I know. I feel like I need to be thinking of those more before the show, you know?
If you want to send a super chat and you don't know what to say, a good prompt might be, what is your favorite like ism that myself or Promise have? Because I feel like we say a lot of the same things over and over again. So I'm curious if there's any things.
I know one of mine now. It's like left my brain, but like the few times that I have caught a clip or something, I've been like, oh my God, I say that so much. It's a word that I say a lot. And we'll see if anybody gets it.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, yeah. So if there are any good isms, let us know in the super chats. Okay, let's take Callie's call, and she will be the last of the evening. Callie, are you there?
Yeah, what's up?
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for calling. What did you want to chat about today?
So my topic is is the male loneliness epidemic just a male unfuckability epidemic? And and I was just wondering because recently there was I don't know if you know Doshi, she's a rapper. She did some interview and she was asked like, what is a red flag for you? And she said, straight men. And it set the internet ablaze, and it reignited the whole gender war.
Heard, felt.
Fact. And I've just noticed, I peruse Reddit all the time, and there's like this certain classic guy where they want to frame that the reason all these Gen Z men are turning towards conservative values because they're messaged by society at large that they're worthless, that they're dangerous, that they're predators. And I guess I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that, because for me, that's not the case. If anything, I feel like straight men probably, I mean, everybody has their own story. Everyone has like an individual situation, but for the most part, I do think it's like the most privileged, like, category in society, and it just doesn't really ring true to me. And I think more what they say when there's a male loneliness epidemic is that no woman wants to date them, and they're sad about that, because if it was really about loneliness, like, you could just get a group of friends and hang out and that would be enough. But the implication is always that they're undateable. Anyway, that's what I got.
I think that multiple things can be true at once. So I think we can have young men that are being fed different messages, and they are, being bullied. I mean, this is stuff that humans face in general. Like, I think we can have individuals that are actually dealing with stuff that understandably is just fucking with their mental health, and that's a very real issue. But then also we have a culture, like in the US, we still have like this patriarchal culture happening, like where men still are the number one predator of women. And where I think the problem comes in is the tension between men able to hold space for whatever they are personally feeling and experiencing that can be awful and very difficult, and also the fact that they are a part of the problem for women in many ways. And I think that when I think about the straight men in my life that I feel safe around, that I generally am not hearing sexist things from, they are men that acknowledge those things being true at once. Like, they have real stuff, they have real shit going on in their life, they've worked, they show up and they're responsible for addressing those things. And also they acknowledge that, like, in general, women deal with a lot of shit from men, and that it is a culture. It is like how men show up in society as a whole. It's a systemic issue. And so I think we're at a weird place in culture where we have to figure out the way forward and how we deal with the mental health crisis that men really are facing, because they've basically been deemed kind of worthless in so many ways, because they were getting their identity based off of like owning women essentially for so long throughout history. And now it's like, I can, get my own car, I can pay my own bills, I can get a credit card for the first time, starting in the 70s, I think it was. There's all these things that women don't, we can go have families without men. Like, we don't need men anymore, finally, which men didn't need women unless they wanted a family in the past. So they've already had that privilege. That's what you're talking about, is that privilege. So I honestly feel for that. That's got to be tough. Like, culturally, that shift in not being needed anymore in the ways, even if it was toxic, even though it was awful, that's still an actual event that's occurring. So now it's like, how do they figure out their identity? Which is stuff that women had to figure out forever ago. And that's why I always recommend a good therapist for this kind of stuff. But there is a mental health crisis that I think needs to be addressed. And men are still the number one predators of women. So that was a very long way to say, I think multiple things can be true at once. I don't know if any of that made sense, but Alyssa.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very similar opinion. It's so multifaceted because I have a lot of empathy for the situation that many men feel that they're in. But it's like, sometimes I think it's the whole thing about how equality feels like oppression to people who've never felt that way before, who've never experienced it before. And so I think that there's a lot of men who are experiencing equality. Like I saw this Andrew Tate clip where he was saying that it's not easy to just like be a man in this day and age. People don't care about you and blah 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 blah. And I think that what is actually happening is they're experiencing the lack of privilege in that care. We're not caring about men as if they are our top priority, because they're not anymore. Straight, specifically cisgender white men, is sort of like their kind of public enemy number one, unfortunately. But that group used to be so heavily prioritized that now that you're actually just not centered anymore. Their experience is not being centered anymore. And so now they're having to learn how to reshape what life looks like. Like the entire landscape of their life is different. And instead of finding a way to say, okay, like my value is actually no longer that I'm a provider and people need me. My role is essential in nuclear families. My role is essential in corporate America, or whatever it is. Now they have to shift and say, okay, what else do I realistically bring to any table, actually? Like whether that's with my friendships, my romantic relationships, with my working relationships, what am I bringing to the table? Because now my role is actually not essential just by the sheer fact that I am this straight, white, cisgendered man. So I think it's like, I have empathy because they're navigating a landscape in a different way. And so I think that that has got to be tough. And it's also like, I saw, I think it was on Threads, someone said, like was quoting women saying like women just want a free dinner. And the response was, was men just want a free therapist. And that
Yeah.
like, and I felt like that was so true. I was like, yeah, that is sort of kind of that has been the trade-off a lot of the time. So it's just like so many other groups found their way to stay psychologically stable and happy, and they found community in other spaces and mental support in other spaces. It's frustrating to now watch the whole of men be like, we're facing this loneliness epidemic, someone help us. And it's like, well, we all figured it out, so you figure it out. But in reality, at the end of the day, like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if we are not actually, like, you can't climb the ladder and then burn it behind you. Like, if we want the whole of us to succeed, then we have to be able to like kind of lend a hand and show where we've kind of paved the way, I think. So that was also a really long-winded answer. Sorry, Callie.
No worries. I appreciate it. I feel like when it comes to straight men, straight white men, I know it's the dirty word, but I still feel like their stories, their perspectives are still centered. And I do think there's probably a male loneliness epidemic, but I think there's just a loneliness epidemic we all face. I feel like we're all like seriously alienated right now under the current system with the way a lot of things are going.
Even having the male loneliness epidemic even being a phrase that we use is literally still centering their experience. We are still centering their experience. Even in having empathy for them, it still is freaking all about them. Divas.
Facts.
So
in my early 20s, this is embarrassing to admit, But when I was still male identified, I was into like pickup artistry and shit. And like when I think back to that person, I would never want to date that guy. Like,
yeah,
I was so fucking insecure, and everybody could smell it on me, and no one would want to date me. And quite frankly, like, I didn't blame them. And it took like friends telling me certain things, like, nobody owes you anything. You don't deserve anything. You gotta be like an attractive person if you want to have a relationship. And it wasn't only, it wasn't until like my values shifted, my whole paradigm shifted, that I was able to actually start to have like longer and healthier relationships. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I there's a big shift that I think helps a lot when you're focusing less on the doing, which I think is like what these pickup artists are offering you. Here are the things that I want you to do so that you can take a woman home, or you can like sleep with a woman, or whatever it is. This is a list of things that you can do. The shift from what you're doing to who you're being makes the biggest impact. Because if who you're being is someone who is interested in what everyone is saying, and like genuine in learning about new people and wanting to make connections and present, it's who you're being that makes a difference. So even for you, when you became the person that you are now, and it's who you're being that matters, there's like a literal tangible shift in how you have relationships and how you're in relationship moving forward. And I always think it's so funny because a lot of the times the people who are these like pickup artists are single, and I never really understand. I'm like, that would be like going to a person like who gets takeout every day for cooking advice. It like wouldn't make like the success rate is zero. It's like the same thing with Andrew Tate. I'm like, this man is almost 40 years old, doesn't have a family, is not married, and he's saying that women are expired at 22. So I'm confused about what that is for him and his bald head, but you know, that's a whole other thing for a whole other day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love that you had that experience, because you literally are the example of who you're being makes a way bigger impact. And it also is kind of nice because at the end of the day, like, there's no secret to like picking up women. Like, there's no line that any person is going to give you that's going to make picking up women so much easier. And if they tell you that, they're lying. It's literally who you're being, because the right person will appreciate who you are, and they're not going to care about some like weird line that somebody fed to you because you paid them, you know, $50 for their course, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
But I love this conversation, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Promise, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think just what I was saying. I think there's just so many things that can be true at once. And I think at the end of the day, it also is different. Like, we've talked about this, how you treat an individual and how you address like the individual situation versus like how we treat it as society, and, you know, the solutions for these things. I think that's all different too. So because I'm able to have like empathy and compassion for an individual, like when I hear about their situation, I'm able to like not just be like, well, you're just a straight white man, so I have no sympathy. I can look at that and show up with empathy, and then also realize that there's like a general issue here that needs to be addressed, where it's like, cool, I need you to get your shit together, and I want to help you do that so we can solve this broader issue. I don't know if that even makes sense. Now that it's past 7:30, my brain stopped working, so
you expired.
But I expired, yeah. But something in there I said is what I mean. Basically. Somewhere in there. Somewhere. Also, I do want to point out this idea, because I think you made a good, this idea that like men have to look a certain way for I am so annoyed when we have those dudes that will call in and be like, well, you guys want us to like be buff and do all this stuff. No, I'm sorry. Some of the hottest women I know are with some of the ugliest men I've ever seen in my life, and I love it for them, and they have amazing relationships. Like, it's not like women care so much less about what men look like than men care about what women look like. I'm generalizing here, but I mean, that is so a thing. But that's, again, it comes back to like men viewing women as a commodity and as like something on their arm, and a woman looking at a man as like another full person showing up, and they're looking at the whole entire situation and not just how you make me look. I'm not saying that some women don't do that or that some men do that or whatever, but generalizing. You can be ugly and find the love of your life. So
100%. 100%.
Gotten more relationships of. Go ahead, sorry.
No, continue. Sorry. I don't even know what I was going to say.
I was just going to say I got more relationships with my personality than I ever did my looks. So that's all.
And those are the ones you want. Exactly. Like that's I think those are the kind of things that I just am looking forward to more men getting to enjoy. Like, that is a nice thing to enjoy, is being liked for who you are. Like Alyssa said, not what you're doing or what you have to offer in terms of like being the provider. So, but thank you so much, Callie, for your call and for the interesting topic.
No worries. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
You too.
You too. Bye.
Sorry that my brain is just
all right.
gone. The sun set, and now I'm like, goodbye.
Do you know the thing about like elderly people that they like sunsetting is a thing where like the sun goes down and their like mental state gets like a little wonky? That's you.
Here I am. That's me. Oh boy. Shall we read super chats?
Let's do it. All right. $5 from Jazzy Dong. 24-hour chewed gum marathon soon then? I don't know about that. 24
this
hours.
This is how it would go, guys. After 2 hours. Can you even imagine? We'd just start watching a movie and like eating popcorn together. $5 from Moira Bannister. Promise, write your affirmations on the mirror with dry erase marker. That is what I've done like years ago when I've done affirmations before, and you're right. I should do that. It's just that then my husband, who shares the mirror with me, is going to like stand there and be like, you are bold. You are not an imposter. Aww. And he's like, he doesn't need any of those affirmations. So...
But anyways. He'll love it. He'll love it because he loves you. And I also saw, speaking of affirmations, I saw Mel Robbins talking about some research. She said research that we found. So I don't know if she was a part of whatever this study was, but she was talking about, and Will, this might be an interesting thing to add to your whole routine. She was talking about high-fiving yourself in the mirror. And so she was saying, like, this is going to feel really stupid. Oh, I know. We've gone batshit.
One of my affirmations is that I'm not cringe. That's not going to help.
Oh. I love that that's one of your affirmations. That's so funny and so cute.
As a homeschooled child, that was a...
And you are not cringe. You are like the most genuine, adorable cutie patootie that's ever lived. And even if you did something that someone else did that would seem cringe, it could never be cringe on you. That's so funny.
Thank you.
But what she said is our brains are wired to think of high-fiving as being like a signal of good job. And like, I'm with you, like we're in it together. Like when we do that for other people, that's what our brain is associating. And we've done that for years and years and years since when we were young. And so our brains are really good at that association. And so they started, I don't know what the study is, but there was some like positive correlation between looking at yourself in the mirror, like really looking at yourself without any judgment and literally high-fiving yourself in the mirror. Do it every day for 5 days. And apparently it's like,
the thought of very that good for makes my skin crawl. Like, I believe you. I'll try it. But I'm just telling you, like, okay, for example, we watch Love is Blind, and I get so embarrassed for myself, but secondhand embarrassment is also a thing I get because of that. Like I just like cringe in general just freaks me out. So like every time when they meet each other, I have to like crawl under the covers because tough. I can feel how embarrassing and cringy that is. And like they kiss and stuff, and I just go like this, and I can't.
It's hard.
It's so hard.
It's tough.
So I'm just picturing myself like in the mirror, just like.
But you know, you gotta like just lean into the cringe. Who cares? You're gonna be cringe in front of who? Yourself in the reflection?
Maybe my affirmation should be I am cringe, and that's okay.
I think your affirmation should be that you are not judging yourself. Like I hold no judgment for myself. Because calling yourself cringe is you judging yourself. Girl.
Yeah.
What?
I love judging. 5 pounds from Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. My self-care is focusing on art tonight. I've officially been learning to draw for 1 year. That's amazing. I am always so impressed with people that learn some form of specifically like drawing or painting later, like when they're not 5 years old, basically. Because to me, it's like, well, I didn't get it then, so I'm never gonna try. Amazing.
You're so funny. $5 from Buddy Bouncer. My daily affirmation is on an itty bitty sign on my work desk that reads, "You can't please everyone. You're not a taco." That's really cute.
Love that. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Blood, plasma, marrow, kidney, segments of liver. If you're fully stocked on any of these, Robert, thinks. Why do I keep reading that wrong? If you're fully stocked on any of these, Robert thinks you're a murderer, you kidney hoarders.
Yeah. You kidney hoarders. Yeah, that was a test of everyone's patience. $5 from Razor Sharp. Theists see women as property/objects. That's why they keep making terrible analogies using inanimate objects. Yeah.
Whoa, yes. The spaceship argument was killing me just because it was so bad. Like, I love a good metaphor. Please don't make bad ones. Like, it didn't even.
Why is my body a spaceship? What are you talking about?
I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but it's still not. To quote you, I fear that is not what Robert meant by it. So,
I do fear. I do. Was this me? I think, yeah.
I don't know.
$5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Remember, y'all, Robert learned what ectopic pregnancy is this month in front of all of us. Robert don't know lady bits. Robert don't know pronouns. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, if you have this whole thing prepared, but you didn't look up when, like, you didn't actually find an accurate source for when abortions happen. You have no idea. Like, please. Spare me.
Or at least know what even if you don't agree with it, like to know a little bit. And look, a lot of people don't know all kinds of things about bodies that aren't their own. And that's fine, but maybe don't form a strong opinion about it then until you've learned.
Yeah.
$5 from the Raven 200. Raw batter isn't a cake. An engine isn't a Chevrolet. A script isn't a movie. Miss me with that. You're killing the baby nonsense. Yeah. It's painful.
$5 from Mr. Boricua 10. I wonder if H. Pearl Davis, Pearl, would give y'all a call on this topic. I don't know if she'd give you an honest chat, though. I imagine you'd run circles. I always think about, like, the people, because I always think about how, like, the Whatever podcast kept inviting us on, and it's like, I so badly want to do that. Like, I want to do that. I want to do Pearl. I want to debate them so badly, but at the end of the day, they don't debate honestly, and they will literally do everything they can to not be wrong. And so that's, like, it just feels like it's a zero-sum game, and it's like not really worth it. Like I watched, can't remember the name of the guy, but it was one progressive, and he's like on YouTube. He's really great. One progressive versus like 20 MAGA people. And he was saying how, or actually someone who voted for Trump, the MAGA guy, was saying how DEI programs allowed government agencies to hire or encouraged government agencies to hire people of color or whoever would fit into the DEI category because it would give them a tax break. And then the progressive was like, well, they're government agencies, so they don't pay taxes.
I know exactly what you're yes. And they didn't understand that it's taxes that pay for government agencies to exist. It's so painful.
Oh, and then he was like, I literally don't know how to debate this.
No, I watched. So I watched that whole thing, and why am I going blank on his name? Sam, I think. And it was so painful because because they didn't. I mean, it was just so bad. And there's a certain level where it's like they're not equipped to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Anyways, $10 from A. Got a raise and a bonus effective next week. Wanted to share the wealth. Oh, thank you. And congrats. That's awesome.
Congratulations. Thank you so
this
much.
Economy, congrats.
Yeah, that's awesome. $5.27 from Bobby Keniston. I'm going to just come right out and say it. I don't care for Robert. I'd probably tell him, I don't like your attitude, pal. Pardon my language. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, $5 from the Raven 200. The like button is a sexy, kinky queen, and it wants to have consensual sex with all of you. Go ahead, pass it around good. # kinky like button gang. Yes, please hit the like button. That is a great way to help us over here on the line. Is like when you see our videos, to hit like, to even if you share the link somewhere, just send it to somebody. If you comment, that always helps. So even if you don't watch live and participate in this way, those are great ways to help us out.
$4.99 from Sarah Talks Podcast. Love the show and the dynamic duo of Promise and Alyssa so much. I will call again soon. We hope you do, Sarah. We love you.
Yes.
You have to call when Promise is here because you called
I know,
when
I
was
didn't
here.
Yeah. $5 from JamNick06. Author Kat Bohannon spoke at Free Flow this weekend. Sorry that I don't know how to say that. Great presentation on how the female body is more designed to kill sperm than to get pregnant. Yeah. That is also super cool.
I saw that come up in the chat and I already pulled it up because I'm going to watch it later.
Nice.
Can't wait.
Nice. I'm jealous of everyone that was at Free Flow. I'm trying to work it out to go to American Atheist Con. So.
When is that?
April 17th through the 20th in Minneapolis.
I think I'll be in LA. Damn.
Oh, okay.
But I want to come to one of those. I think it's me.
I know.
£5 from Herbie Shine. I don't remember seeing Anne Hathaway in a film like this before. Just kidding. Great show, lady people. I'm so pleased Alyssa shut down Mrs. Robert. He was such an a-hole, and they should try to listen once. That is so funny.
So good.
Although, Anne Hathaway, that's your celeb lookalike, Anne Hathaway.
I get that every day so many times in my comments, and Herbie, who is amazing as always showing up in my Facebook comments, also sees them on the regular and is like, yep, that's the thing.
There
my
she
sister
is.
Actually looks a lot like her. Anyways, $5 from JamNick06. Got to meet Seth, Forrest, GE, Apostate Sisters, and other awesome people. I was rocking the line merch all weekend. CG water bottle and Daft sweater. Oh, see, I'm so sad that I wasn't there. Okay, American Atheists. I hope some of you are going to be there.
Anytime any of you wear your chewed gum merch, please send us a picture because it is. I save all of the ones that we get. I love them.
Yes,
please send them.
That's the best.
$5 from Monkey a Typewriter. I gotta say, I don't think that Aloysius guy was real. I have that feeling. Thanks as always. You guys have become a big part of my journey. That was
thanks. Well, honestly,
great bait and switch.
I don't feel like I get surprised very easily due to my hypervigilance and anxiety. I was in full on like let's talk to a theist mode, and you got me. Well done.
You're welcome.
I was.
Yeah, you guys.
I love that you guys worked together. That was so great. And
Morgan was like, "I know exactly what will make them take this call first if I put that in." So that was really good. And I'm so happy for you and excited for this part of your journey. $10 from Damien Youth. When people talk about incest, my immediate reaction is always disgusting. but I don't know if that's for moral reasons or for ugly family reasons. Ugly family reasons.
Ugly family reasons.
There's legit health problems, of course, but that's also a really funny way to say that.
Yeah. $50 from Duffelbag 420. Great name. Happy high times. That's lovely. Thank you so much. That's so generous.
Thanks for the support. Yeah.
And what an amazing beard.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta braid that sometime. That's what I would do all day, is just braid and unbraid.
Yeah. 1999 from Narrative Dude. Though Jay seems like a decent person, some men have a pathological need for intimate details that reflects a lack of significant intimacy in their lives. That makes it critical to guard those details. Yeah, I was trying to figure out throughout that call exactly where we were going with all of this. And if anything, toward the end, once I got a little bit more context for Jay, giving the benefit of the doubt here, which I like to do, I get it. Like when you're indoctrinated like that and you like, there's this moral scrupulosity that happens and you're just like clinging to details because you're really trying to sort something out. I think that's also part of what's at play. But you know what? I am happy to share the things that I share, and I don't share anything I don't want to share at the end of the day.
Yeah. And like, I'm glad that Jay gave context, because people were being like very hard on him in the chat. And I kind of I believed him the whole time. I think he was asking questions just because he's like getting into debate and like navigating new stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm glad he called, and I hope that he calls back again and or continues to have conversations like this, because they're new for him. And yeah. And I hope that the suggestions you were giving, Promise, were so great when you were talking about the OCD that you experience. I hope that like, even if that's not what he's dealing with, understanding that his belief system could have created that for him. I'm sure,
right.
That's helpful
at least creates an impulse to like get to the bottom of this moral issue. And I think that was the main point I wanted to make, is you actually don't have to. Like, it's not like I can be uncomfortable with something like that, hypothetically presented, and also acknowledge that it's just not my business and not something I need to sit and moralize. I get to decide if I want to participate in stuff or not. I get to decide if I want an abortion. I get to decide if I want to get gay married. I get to decide all of those things. I don't have to decide that for other people.
Yeah.
10 euros from Marcel Vondermassen. Hey, Alyssa. Hey, Promise. I called in with a question regarding allyship, but ran into technical issues on my side. I'll try again another week. You're doing great work. Best wishes from Germany. Oh, yes. Please call back next week.
Yes, please do. Thank you. $5 from Alishana Silverbow. I spent too much on super chats last night, but could spare $5. Why did the pianist keep banging her head against the keys? Because she was playing by ear. That's great.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alishana.
I see Giddy put a British. Giddy put a British chat in there. Oh, if I'm the one that gets it, I'm gonna be.
1053 from Bobby Kinniston. Me. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Promise. Alyssa, where's our fucking money? Pay up if you like your kneecaps. Me. Screams. Promise. Wait, it's not him. Alyssa. Oh, want some tea? Promise. It's chai. The end.
Oh my God. That's really funny. Oh, Jesus. $9 from Cody Cooper. Sometimes when bored, I have deep thoughts like, how did God make the great oceans? Did he wave his hand and bring water from the sky, or did he pee them out with his almighty wang? Love the show. That's great. I love it.
If I was a god, that is honestly how I would decide to create oceans.
That's how I do it.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Not isms, but I love the way that Promise always comes up with the best question to cut through bullshit, and the way that Alyssa just knows so much. Agreed on that Alyssa comment.
Thanks.
And thanks. And thank you.
And okay, yeah, you do always have the best questions to be like, whatever this is, no. And then you really do cut down to like the actual, it's good. It's real good. You get
I don't like wasting time. It's like the eldest child in me where I'm like, okay, we're not fucking around here. Like, what is your point? Yeah. And then let's address that.
Yes. Yeah. It's so good.
Thank you.
$5 from Razor Sharp. I feel like a good way to deal with the male loneliness epidemic is to teach people how to be happy with being alone. I think that's part of it, but I also think that humans are meant to live like in community with each other. And I think that part of it can be, yeah, absolutely. We should learn how to be happy being alone. And we also should find other meanings of community that are not just in relationships, like being in romantic relationships. So yes, and.
Yeah. I think when you're happy with yourself, like with who you are on your own, and you are able to be alone, then I actually think that brings opportunities to have more community generally. Because then you like yourself, you like how you show up, and you are wanting to put yourself out there more. $5 from DaCosta. I was waiting for a prompt. Alyssa, I feel like I hear you say, I love that for you. Yes, she definitely does. Often. I definitely use it. Nicer than it must be nice. I love that for you is definitely an Alyssa-ism. I catch myself now saying that's also the oldest daughter in me, because I'm constantly like picking up things from my little sisters and what they say so I can be cool. And I've definitely started doing that with you. Now I'm like, now I know how to talk to my Gen Z sister a little bit better. I fear I'm learning. I hope you love that for me.
I do love that for you. Oh my God. I love it. $9.99 from Adam Kopike. How do we say that? Do you know?
We say that we need to go to sleep because I don't.
Yeah.
Cupcake?
Cupcake?
One of those has got to be right.
I don't know. Let us know in the chat if you're in there still. I just want to thank you both and everyone at the line for being the amazing and informative people you are. Even though my time with the line has been short, the knowledge I've gained is priceless. Thank you so much. That is so kind. Kepke, I think. Someone said
$20 from the Batman 1119. This is for Alyssa having to deal with Robert. Valid crash out.
Hi, crash out.
Amazing.
That was. Yeah,
I love Alyssa. Alyssa's like, you're making me like. She'll just go for it. She's like, I'm just so angry right now. Goodbye. Like, no, like. That's why I love you, because you did try, and we should have hung up on him forever ago. But I like that you like waited to take the time to be like, now you've made me angry. Now you pissed me off.
Literally. And I tried, even in that last little bit, I was like really trying to keep it together. And then I was like, I actually don't
like,
care.
Why?
I don't care what you have to say anymore. God. $5 from the Raven 200. I legit can't relate to the lonely men deal. I don't care about romantic relationships or dating. I got friends and family I love, and D&D. I'm good. I love it. See, you have community in other ways.
$5 from Razor Sharp. Do y'all think people like Tate are just bitter and sabotaging young men on purpose since he never had a successful relationship? Maybe. I think a lot of it, he's just a narcissist and likes to hear himself talk, and he knows how to make money at this point. And obviously there's no part of him that actually cares about helping other dudes. Like, that's not a thing. I think if anything, it's more about just outright misogyny and on a mission to spread that more.
I also feel like when I think about it, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would want other men to also be eligible. Like, he seems like the kind of guy who would want to sabotage everybody else. So he's like, there's such a small minority of men that are available to the women that he deems to be high value, you know? Like, why would he, if he already thinks the pool of acceptable women is so small, why would he put any amount of real, genuine effort into making the men around him more eligible?
Yeah. Yep.
$5 for Monkey at Typewriter.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is this? I don't know.
It's you. Ignore me.
$5 for Monkey at Typewriter. I actually tried to high five my reflection we missed, but promise should def do it. She needs the extra credit before the term ends. Yell rock.
Good point. Maybe if I like add a third, I'll do like the Superman stance and then like end it with a high five and start everything with my affirmations. Then I'll just be unstoppable, you guys. $5 from Letty. I love judging. Promise, probably. I did just say that.
that.
I do. I mean, we all judge all day long. Like, that's how we make decisions and get through life. It's just a matter of like, what we're judging and how we're judging it. So,
right.
you know.
$4.99 from Julia Ann. Promise, Musk is literally the embodiment of cringe. Please never put your beautiful self on the same playing field. Yeah.
Oh, that's another person. Every time I watch these little clips, I'm like, oh, I have to scroll. I can't. I was feeling this way, Elon, years ago. The cringy videos and just, not good.
Yeah, it's bad.
$5 from the Raven 200. I'm an anime, wrestling, and D&D nerd. I have lots of masks. I'm into weird history and war stories. I love writing OCs. I know I'm cringe and love it. That all sounds cool. Like, that's, to me, cringe is a vibe. It's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, and it's oftentimes mostly just like moments that are cringe to me. It's like these people meeting for the first time on Love is Blind and having an awkward first kiss. It's like, it just physically makes me cringe, you know?
Cringe is made up.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, it is. It is.
Oh no, I'm worried. Fuck. Damn it. Will literally just said, you ready for the next one?
Listen, I was like, like when you're in school and, which I only know this from the homeschool co-op, and like you're assigned a paragraph to read. So you like go skip through and you figure out which one it is that you have to read so that you can like know if you're going to be able to read the words. I was, that worked out.
Were you doing that?
Go for it. I was doing that.
Okay. $10 from Giddy. Giddy, I'm going to kick your butt. Oi, Jay, I appreciate you call. I've been calling here to work on me reasonings and learn. What am I even saying? But I oft appear. I don't know what I'm even saying.
Obstinate?
I don't know. Cus, I don't know. Crikey, mate. That's all I got. I don't know what the hell
That's really
I just
good.
said. Yeah. That's crazy. What's the wob? What about? I don't know what that.
Battle a what?
What a battle?
What a bottle? No, I think it's water bottle.
Oh, water bottle.
Bottle of water. What a bottle? Bottle a what? I think so.
Thank you, Giddy.
$19.99 from I Am the Darkness. I just wanted both of your takes on the ban of words from the government like women, equality, gender, etc., etc. My take is it's absolute fucking bullshit. Like 99% of everything they're doing right now. So
it's also like it makes me feel very helpless because I don't know what we're supposed to do about that. Like they're just banning words, and then other people are continuing to say that you made it through the first Trump presidency, you'll make it through this one too. What? Okay. So it's just so invalidating.
Not the same.
No. Oh, $5 from President Starscream. I judge myself and find myself to be superior. Soundwave, probably. Yeah.
$5 from SJL. I have to dispute that high fives have some innate value to us. I predate high fives, possibly from women's volleyball on the 60s or baseball in 77.
I think that's the next assignment. Try this.
That's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for a lovely evening. I love hanging out with you all, and we'll both be back next week.
We'll be back next week. We love you.
Thanks to my favorite producer, Amargan, for also being our screener tonight, doing all of the things for us. Thank you to our mod. And thanks to everybody in the chat that shows up. Thanks to our Patreon producers. Check out patreon.com/calltheline.